This conference will now be recorded.
So I believe we spoke about Sqoop import internals in the previous session, isn't it? Let me just go back there. Yeah, I think we spoke about everything. So we had a glance about how Sqoop import works, right? And also we have seen the major differences between target directory and warehouse directory. So three things might happen when you perform import operation, so, right? So your import might fail if you have the target directory available, and you can override that if you want by using delete target directory. If you want to append the data, you can go with -append. So on CodeGen is called internally by Sqoop import. You don't need to call it manually; it's automatically called. Also, we spoke about this Sqoop execution lifecycle right from the start to end. So you have to be a little bit aware of this process because this can be asked in the interviews. And I'll talk about number of mappers now. So by default, the number of mappers is 4, but if you wanted to change the number of mappers also, we can do that. There are a couple of ways, as you can see. We can use either num mappers, or you can just use -m to change the number of mappers. So let's do that. So the Cloudera quick start time is about to start. Let's give it 1 more minute. Meanwhile, if you have any other questions, you can ask, right? Anybody have any questions in practicing, or if you stuck anywhere, just let me know if you have any questions. I believe there are no questions. I think Leela, you had some question, right? So I think you pinned related to some question in the chat. Let me just check that.
Okay.
So yeah. Okay. Anyways, the Cloudera start film is started. So Leela, do one thing. Just have your virtual machine ready at the end of the session. You can share your screen.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the Cloudera quick start PM is up and running now. Let me just start with the import operation. We'll try to import a table by changing the number of mappers. So let me just close this browser that you have, and also open in terminal. And then first let me do one thing. Let me just set the title, terminal set title, give it a Sqoop, and click on view and zoom in. I would like to clean up everything that I have in my HDFS location just to avoid any of the failures. So I think I should not have anything right now. Let's just check user Cloudera. I don't have anything right now. Let me open one more terminal. So again, I would like to use this terminal for MySQL, and click on view and zoom in. I will connect to MySQL by saying MySQL -u root -p Cloudera. Show databases, and I would like to switch to retail DB. Show tables. So these are the tables that we have got. Now let's say that I would like to import a table. Suppose I wanted to import categories table, and I wanted to use just only 3 mappers. I can do that by using -num mappers. So let me just go to my desktop, create document, empty file, Sqoop, and here I'm going to build my query. Sqoop import -connect jdbc : mysql : / localhost : 3306. Mention your database name, and also you have to mention your username. username is root, and password is Cloudera. Mention the table. We would like to import the categories table. And here I'm going to set the number of mappers to be 3. Number of mappers is 3. Let's copy this and go to the Sqoop terminal and paste it here. Sorry, I forgot to give one thing. I forgot to give the target directory. Let's give that as well. Or you can even give warehouse directory so that it will automatically create a directory with the same name as that of your table name. Let's go with warehouse directory for now. Just copy this and go here and paste it. So this will start importing your categories table and it will just use only 3 mappers. So let the import complete. I'll talk a little bit internals here. Yeah, the import operation is done. Now, remember that we have mentioned the number of mappers as 3, right? So you can see the same getting reflected here. Number of splits is showing as 3. So now how do we calculate the split size? Max minus min. Maximum value is 58. Minimum value is 1. 58 minus 51 is 57. Divided by number of mappers or number of splits, which is nothing but 3. So 57 divided by 3, split size is 19. So every mapper will try to import exactly 19 records. So now also remember one thing, we have mentioned the number of mappers or number of splits as 3. Your output should contain exactly 3 files, right? Let's confirm the same. SDFS plus DFS -ls user Cloudera. Remember we have mentioned the warehouse directory. If you mention warehouse directory, it will automatically create a directory for you, right? You can see categories automatically created for me. Let's go inside categories and check the contents. You should have exactly 3 output part files because we have used only 3 mappers, right? And every mapper must be trying to do equal amount of work by importing close to 19 records. Look at their sizes are almost same. So that's how we can specify the number of mappers by using -n mappers. You can also change the number of mappers by using -m option. Let's try that. Suppose I wanted to import order items table now, and I wanted to just use only 2 mappers. Let's give a try for that. I'm going to build a query here. Table name changes. It will be order items. And the next one will be number of mappers. So here I'm going to specify -m as 2 so that it will just use only 2 mappers. Let's copy this, go to the Sqoop terminal, clear the screen, right click and paste it. So this should just use only 2 mappers. Let's wait for this to complete. The import operation is done. Now remember that we have mentioned number of mappers as 2, right? Let's go and confirm the same. You can see number of splits is showing us 2. So 170 to 198 minus 1 divided by 2. Approximately you're going to get the values 86,098. So every mapper will try to import close to 86,098 records. So just to confirm the same, we can just go to our HDFS location and cross check. You should have just only 2 output part files. Have a look here. We have just only 2 part files as expected, and their sizes are almost equal. So that's how we can change the number of mappers by using -f mappers or -m option. So we have been trying to import the data in the text file format, right? So the default file format that is being used is nothing but the text file format. If you wanted to import the data in any other file format also, we can do that. Suppose I wanted to import the data in sequence file format, then I can give a try with this. So first of all, how to find out the supported file formats? You can say Sqoop space help import, enter. Now I can go and check certain parameters here. I'll show certain parameters. I'm just trying to look at the parameters that talks about the file formats. Yeah, so these are the ones. So these are the 4 file formats that are supported when you try to import the data. So what's the default one? Default one is nothing but the text file format, where it's try to importing the data in that plain text format. If you wanted to import the data in any other format also, that works. Let's try with importing the data in sequence file format. Let's try to import the departments table by using the sequence file format. So I'll just modify the query. Table name is departments, and I'll leave it as warehouse directory. So here I have to mention the file format. If you don't mention anything, that will be text file format. But as we would like to import it in sequence file format, then we can just use this. Just copy it and paste it here. This should import the departments table in the sequence file format. Let's run this. The import operation is done. See, the file format won't change the overall process. Only thing that changes here is the way the data is stored in HDFS. So let's go and check the contents in departments table, so the departments directory. You should have 4 files, but the file format should be sequence file. So let's take one of the file and let's check the contents. So have a look at this is sequence file format. This is how it will be, right? It's kind of binary form. You may not be able to read it completely, but if it is starting with SCQ, that's a sequence file format. You can see departments, it's showing us fitness, footwear, etc. So we are able to import the data in the sequence file format. You can also try with the remaining two, such as Avro and Parquet. That should work. Let's talk about how to compress the data when you import it. But before talking about this, I would like to perform the usual import. So that is without enabling any compression, I would like to perform an import operation. Let me import orders table once again. So I would like to import orders table, and I wanted to use target directory. I want to use target directory, and the destination I would like to give it as orders underscore uncompressed. So this will be imported in the text file format. That's the default one. If you don't mention anything, that's the default one. So we are trying to import orders table. Target directory, I have mentioned this. Let's perform the import of this orders table. Most likely we will be using the text file format to perform the import operation. But again, it may change from project to project, so that will be decided by the architect. So architect of your team will decide which format should be used. So I have performed this import operation by the default operation, but now I wanted to perform the import operation of the same table by enabling the compression. So the table name remains same. Target directory I wanted to rename it to orders underscore compressed, and then to enable compression, I'm going to specify --- compress. I'll show the clear difference between both. So I'm just going to perform the import operation again of the same table in a compressed form. The import operation is done. Again, it won't change the import process. It will change the way the data is stored. So we are done import of the same table, such as orders table, in both forms. Uncompressed form, which is the default one, uncompressed one. So let us see the clear difference between both now. HDFS plus DFS -ls -h user Cloudera, and check the contents under orders underscore uncompressed. I will zoom out so that you can see it clearly. So this is the uncompressed one, which is the default one. Now I'm also going to check the contents of orders underscore compressed, where we have enabled the compression. So now I have a look at the clear difference between both. If it is uncompressed, the data was taking almost 700 plus KB to show the to basically store the data. Now, if you enable the compression, then the same data we're able to compress it with just to store in the form of 100 plus KB. Look at their extension; it's showing us .gz, which means it is the compressed data. So if you go with compression, then you don't need to have huge storage. The same data can be stored with less amount of disk space. So that's how we can enable the compression. Let's also verify the contents. I wanted to copy this orders underscore compress directory to my local Linux machine so that I can cross check the contents of these files. I can use get command for the same. hdfs space dfs -get. Just copy this directory and paste it. So let me just give it as dot. It will copy it into the same directory. It's saying it's already exists. So let me do one thing. Let me just say orders underscore orders underscore orders underscore compressed. Just to uniquely identify this, I'll give it as May 2022. So you should have the same data copied to this directory called as orders underscore compressed on May 2022 should be created. This is the one that we have created just now. Let's go inside that. So if you look at the extension of these are all your compressed data, right? You can also say lsf and lrth, lsf and lrth. So you can see that it is taking less space, right? Now I'll do one thing. I'll uncompress this so that I can show the clear difference again. It's going to take more space, right? So how to uncompress this or how to extract this gunzip space standard.cz, right? Gunzip. Now if you try to check the contents, you should have more space occupied. Can you see the advantage of compression? If you compress it, the same data, we are going to store it in less amount of space. But if you go with uncompressed format, then we have to have extra storage needed. That's why we preferably go with compression wherever required. So when you compress it, it's going to take less storage, right? Anyways, we have extracted it. Just to verify the contents, I'll just check the contents of one of the file. The contents are looking fine. I can also check the total count of the records. Let's say part star wc-l 68,883 records. As expected, the counts are matching up, right? So that's how we can enable the compression as well when you try to perform the input operation, right? I hope it is clear. now let's talk about certain important things. So there is an option to basically use called as verbose. If you use verbose, that will give you more logs. Suppose if you wanted to understand more internals of any of the Sqoop import operation, you can specify verbose. Let's do one thing. Let's try to import the products table, and I'm going to basically include -f verbose option. So let me do that. I'll copy this and I'll paste it. Table name is products. I'll go with the same name, products, and here I'm going to use -f verbose so that you will get more logs when your import operation is running. Paste it here. So the import operation is done. Remember, we have specified -f and verbose, right? If you mention -f and verbose, then you can see plenty of internals. I'll scroll up. I'll come from the start. So you can see that it's creating the Java file and it's compiling it to a broad class file and creating the jar file, all such stuff. The important one which I wanted to talk here is it's going to get the primary key for the table. Because if you remember, when you perform the import operation of orders table, it was performing the bounding values query on order ID column, right? Because order ID column was the primary key for orders table. Let me show that. Describe orders. So bounding values query was run on order ID column of orders table because order ID is the primary key for this table. So similarly, if you look here, before running the bounding values query internally, it's going to check what's the primary key for the particular table. I'll copy this query and I'll paste it here. So as we are trying to import the products table, so it's going to run this query internally first to check which column is acting as primary key for products table. So product ID column is the primary key for the products table. I can also confirm the same by describing the same. Look at the key column, it's showing as PRI, where product ID is the primary key column for the products table. So based on that, once you have the primary column defined here, then it's going to go to the rest of the process. So then it will try to perform the import operation by using that primary key on the bounding values query. Now you can see here, the same column is being used to run the bounding values query. I'll just copy this and paste it here. You can see that it is running the bounding values query on the primary key of the table. And you can also see the split boundaries. That is, every mapper will try to import the records within a certain range, right? You can see those split boundaries here, right? So that's by using verbose, you'll get more information, right? So try playing with verbose. That's an interesting option. Now, there is one question. Okay, we are running the bounding values query on a primary key of the table. Now, what if I don't have the primary key? What if I don't have the primary key? So let me just create a table which doesn't have any primary key. I have some old tables here. I'm going to drop them. Ignore these commands for now. Sorry. Show tables. So all of these tables have got the primary key, but now I wanted to create a new table which doesn't have primary key. And I wanted to create it from orders table. I can use something called a CTAS. So CTAS stands for create table as select. Create table. Table name will be orders no pk as select star from orders. So we are trying to create a new table called as orders no pk. As it won't have any primary key, I'm mentioning it as no pk, no primary key. So you can just run show tables. You should have the table created. I can see orders no pk table. We will describe the table to check if you have the primary key or not. Look at the key column. We don't have anything, right? Basically, this table doesn't have any primary key, right? Now let us perform the import operation of this table and see the behavior. I'll just copy this. Table name is orders no pk. And let me give the target directory also with the same name, orders no pk. No pk stands for no primary key. So let's start the import operation of this table. Remember, this table doesn't have primary key. We will have to wait and see whether the import operation goes through or not. The import is failing. Import is failing. and the reason is no primary key can be found on the table. Also, they're giving us a couple of suggestions to go with sequential import or split by. So let me do one thing. Let me just copy this. I'll paste it somewhere here. So the first step is whatever imports that we have done till now, they are all called as parallel imports. If the number of mappers is greater than 1, then that's a parallel import. If the number of mappers is equal to 1, then that's nothing but sequential import. Right? So let's do one thing. Let's follow these suggestions. So first, the reason for this failure is no primary key on this table, right? Also, they are giving us a couple of suggestions. So first, we'll start with this. Perform a sequential import by using -m1 option. So let's import this table by using -m1 option. That is, just use only one mapper to import this table. Let's see if this goes fine or not. We'll have to wait for some time. So the import operation is done. Now I'm curious to check if you have any bounding wells query or not. Let's go and check the same. So import operation went through. Now, do you see anywhere the bounding wells query or split size? You don't have. You can just see that number of splits is showing as 1. That is number of mappers is 1. Now, why is the case that bounding wells query is not shown? I'll give you an example. Suppose, let's say that you are working in a team and you don't have any other team members. Only you are alone in the team, right? Now, if any work comes to your team, then you have to do the work, right? There is no other option, right? So we were using split size and bounding wells query because there were multiple mappers. There are 4 mappers. We have to decide the equal amount of work to be done by each mapper. That's where bounding wells query and split size were coming to the picture. But if you just have only one team member or one mapper, no point of going with bounding wells query or split size because that mapper have to do the entire work. So that's why if it is sequential import, that is number of mappers is 1, you will not see the bounding wells query or split size, right? Now it must be importing everything. You can see the same mapper must be importing 68,883 records. So let's go to the HDFS location and cross check certain things. So I'm just going to go to my HDFS location. So that will be auto Sqoop PK. So how many files should be there? Just only one, because as we did the sequential import by using one mapper, you can see there is only one output file. Also, if you look at the contents in this particular file, you should be seeing that all the records must be imported by the same mapper. So we are aware that this table contains 60,083 records and all the records are imported by the same mapper. You can see the count. So that's how we can do the sequential import if you don't have primary key on a table. Remember, if you do sequential import, we will not get any bounding wells query. Let's try the other suggestion. Please specify one with -f split by. That is, out of all the existing columns, we can decide one of the column to be acting as primary key. That's where I can use split by. Let's do one thing. Let's try to import the same table again. And as we did the import already, I wanted to avoid the import failures. Hence, I'm going to say delete target directory. And I'm also going to specify -f split by. -f split by. So out of all these columns, I have to decide one of the columns should be used. Right? So out of all these columns, you have to preferably choose a numerical column, right? So order ID is the column that works best in our scenario. I'm going to pick up the same to be used in split by. Let's try with this now. So the import operation is done. Now we have specified split by with order ID, right? Now, whichever column that you mentioned here, the same must be used in the bounding values query. I'll show the same. As we have specified order ID column is split by, the same column is being used in bounding values query, and rest of the process remains same. Calculating the split size and everything remains same. In fact, we will also see 4 output files because the number of mappers is 4, right? Now let's do one thing. Let's try to perform the import operation of same table again, but this time I'm going to use a string based column or varchar based column in my split by, such as order status. Remember, order status is not a numerical one, right? It contains the values such as status as complete, closed, etc. That's a string based column, not a numerical column. Now I will show the clear difference between both. I would like to import the same table by using split by, but I wanted to use order status in my split by. Let me also change the destination directory. Let's say orders order status. That will be my target directory. I don't need this delete target directory because I'm importing this table for the first time. So let's see the behavior now. I'm going to import this table which doesn't have any primary key by using split by with order status column, which is string based column. Now will the input go fine or will it fail? Let's find out. The import operation is done. Let's go back to the query. We have specified order status in split by. Now the same column must be used in the bounding values query. Let's go and check the same. So it's using the same query in your bounding values query. Also, there is a solution. Generating splits for a textual index column. If your database sorts in case insensitive order, this may result in partial import or duplicate records. So you are strongly encouraged to choose an integer split column. Also, one of the side effect is the default number of mappers must be 4, but one of the side effect is it's showing us 5 because we are using string based column in split by, right? Also, let's go and check the contents in your HDFS location. So this is from the previous import because I want to show the comparison between both, and this will be the output from your current import. So the first side effect of using a string based column in split by is It's creating 5 files instead of 4 files. And also look at their sizes. There are a couple of mappers which is doing a lot of work, 1.3 MB, 1.4 MB. There are a couple of mappers which are doing kind of less amount of work. There is one mapper which is not doing any work. So this is the side effect of using a string based column in split by, right? So the suggestion is not to use a string based column in split by. Always go with some numerical column such as order ID so that the import operation goes fine. And you can see that it will just create exactly 4 output files and their sizes are also almost same, right? Let's do one thing. Let's try to import the same table again. I am going to follow the sequential import again, but there is other way to do the sequential import. So let me import the same table one more time. And we have something called as auto reset to one mapper. I'm going to use that to perform the sequential import. As we did the import already, I'm going to mention delete target directory to avoid the import failures. And I'm going to use that auto reset to one mapper option. Sqoop help import graph for reset. So we have an option called as auto reset to one mapper. I'm going to use this option to perform the import operation. Let's copy this and paste it. Let this import complete. I'll talk a little bit about this. So guys, the import operation is done. Remember, we gave auto reset to one mapper option. That is, it will just use only one mapper. I'll confirm the same. If you can scroll up, you don't see any bounding val square or split size. You can just see number of splits is 1. That is number of mappers is 1. Also, if you go and check your HDFS location, you should have just only one file. And that one mapper has to do the entire work, right? I can also quickly show you the size, show the number of records imported by this mapper. This mapper must be doing the entire work. So I can just confirm the same by writing cat command on it. And this should be getting the total count of the records. So you can see that the count of the records is showing us 683. So as we have mentioned, auto reset to one mapper, it will just use only one mapper to perform the import operation. Right. So any questions still here, guys? Anybody have any questions? Okay, I think this should be enough for today. We'll again meet tomorrow. So I think Leela, you have some question, right? You can share your screen. We can have a screen share. Others, please feel free to stay back or leave. We're done with today's session. We'll meet tomorrow.